All right. What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. We're back with another episode of Fluent and Chill.
You don't like our intro?
I do.
Oh, I'm just curious. I was just curious.
I do. Don't you?
Okay. I don't know. You're not playing it, so I just assume you don't like it.
Oh, that's typically what you do. I
got no control. I can't do nothing.
Oh,
I don't get any. I don't get any merch. I don't have any access. I got nothing. I'm just a talk.
Are you a peon, Tom? Is that what you're saying, Tom?
I'm just a talking head.
Are you a peon, Tom? Is that what you're trying to say?
No one's even. I was gonna say no one's even watching. A couple people.
FIFA's watching.
What up, FIFA?
FIFA's. Fluent, you are the talking head. Don't do that to yourself.
100%.
There's no Fluent and Chill without Fluent. Let's be real. El FIFA, good to see you. All right, so man, it's been a week since I've seen you guys. A lot has been happening in the world in general, but a lot has been happening in the basketball realm as well. Just want to say, prayers up for everyone in Baltimore. Really sad situation going on there. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
So how you crashed the boat into the bridge? What are you doing?
How the bridge just collapsed like that, though? Did you see the way that it all, like, one pillar?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I get it. A boat runs into the pillar, it's gonna fall. But the way it all collapsed,
yeah.
Tone,
I got more questions.
You know I'm a conspiracy theorist.
I know you are.
Don't get me started, Jay.
You know I'm a conspiracy theorist. So that cargo ship crashing into what the hell's the name of that bridge? It's the president. I forgot the name of that bridge, but crashing into that. Excuse me,
something.
Francis Scott Key. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, Francis Scott Key Bridge. So that cargo ship crashing into that bridge. That bridge, when it was built, was able to withstand winds, not just winds, but it was able to withstand force. A cargo ship crashing into the base of the bridge is not supposed to collapse like that. So yeah. I'm thinking maybe this bridge was already falling apart. And something like this had to happen for them to now recognize. And by the way, that bridge fell into the water. That's a 2-year job.
Yeah.
It's going to take.
I just want to be clear. What I'm hearing you say is that bridge was faulty.
Yes.
And they drove the boat into the pole to force them to repair it.
I'm not saying that they drove the cargo ship into the bridge, but there are some. I'm willing to bet that there are some people who made it clear to other people this bridge needs to be repaired. When was the last time there were repairs done on this bridge? Because for a cargo ship to run into that bridge and for it to fall apart like that, there are some people who work there. There's some people who work in the city. There's some people who work in the county who do inspections on this stuff. And we're told about this, that this bridge needs to be fixed. So can you imagine if that was at 5:00 in the afternoon?
Well, isn't it then convenient that it was at 1:30 in the morning?
When no traffic is when nothing is going on. Nothing is going on.
Another interesting thing, and obviously there's only speculation, but typically a boat of that size, one, it shouldn't have been where it was, and two, there's typically a tugboat that's with it, and there wasn't. And so just a lot. I mean, obviously it's heartbreaking for everybody that has lost loved ones. But at the same time, it's so sad we live in a place now where it's like we're skeptical of everything. Like we don't trust anything, and the fact that the media is so slow to come out is just crazy. So yeah, man, it's a wild world we're living in, and it doesn't stop there. I mean, the NBA has just been going crazy too. We're nearing the end of the season, and no, Wutosh, it's not a metaphor for tonight's topic, but maybe there is a bridge somewhere.
What is tonight's topic?
We have a few, and honestly, we want to get some people up here as well. We're going to be talking about Adam Silver's take on the All-Star game. We're going to talk about the Warriors possibly missing the playoffs in total. And
I got some bad news for you, H.
Yeah,
Hold on.
Yeah.
Can we start there for a second?
Let's start there.
Can we start there? Because I'm gonna say 4 names. No. Not about the Warriors.
Kidding.
Not just solely the Warriors.
I'm kidding.
Hold on.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
Steph Curry, LeBron James, balloons, Kevin Durant, Luka Doncic.
Are all what, Tone?
As it stands right now, 2 of those 4 are going to miss the playoffs.
Goodbye.
You can argue that's 4 of the top 10 players in the league. 40% of them are sitting in the play-in right now. 40%, and I didn't even check the East. There might be one more there.
Tone, Tone, you opened up the can, Tone. You just cracked it open. Open it up some more. And the reason why I'm asking you to open it up some more, Tone, because there's some things that you didn't mention. So, for example, if the Warriors miss the playoffs, like I think they're going to do this year, that will be the 3rd time in 5 years Curry has missed the playoffs. What's going to be the logic on Curry? How about we talk about LeBron James, who my man Tone over here, who is a Laker spoiled rotten kid. LeBron James will have, if the Lakers miss the playoffs, this will be the 3rd time in 6 years that he's missed the playoffs. That means every other year he is out of the playoffs. Kevin Durant, with this team that's been formed to win the NBA championship, will have missed the playoffs. What's going to be the logic on him? And please don't make me talk about Luka, who in consecutive seasons will have missed the playoffs.
Now,
with Kyrie Irving.
Now let's say this though. Let's say this though. Luka last year was a management decision to miss the playoffs.
Yes, he was.
Let's be honest, right?
Fair.
They sat those guys to miss it on purpose so that they could get their draft pick. That being said, Luka is 26 years old. 24. Is he 20? Wow, 24 years old. So we're okay with guys missing the playoffs, right? Because LeBron missed his first 2 seasons. We're okay with guys early in their careers missing the playoffs. So this is if he's 24, this is year 6? No.
Yes, sir. Showed up in 18, John. Yes, sir. Showed up in 18.
That long?
Showed up the same year Trae Young and DeAndre Ayton.
Okay, so here's the thing. So it's getting a little. He's gonna have to start in year 7, 8, whatever. But okay, his first 6 years, his missing the playoffs, blah blah blah. The team's not even with Kyrie. I don't think it's a good team. So I think he'll get a hey, he better hurry up and do something. But LeBron, Steph, and that wannabe superstar KD, ooh, he better not miss the playoffs, boy. Better not miss the playoffs, boy.
Now, here's the thing, Tone. Let's put some context on this. So, for example, Steph Curry misses the playoffs in 20, broke his hand, so he was out for the whole season.
Yeah.
Right? So, in 21, the play-in tournament is implemented.
Yep.
Golden State is actually a playoff team. They finished 8th that year. That's a playoff team. And remember, Curry finished 3rd that year in league MVP votes, led the league in scoring. So, it wasn't like he was, No, he was awesome that year. He finished 3rd in the league MVP votes. 2 years later, the very next year, they win the NBA championship. Then they lose last year, and then they lose last year, which management did him a disservice by not capitalizing on the fact that they won the NBA championship and upgrading that roster. They didn't do that, right? So James, 3 times in 6 years. If they don't make the playoffs this year, that'll be 3 times in 6 years, with arguably over those last 6 years, not one Tone, not one H, but 2 top 10 players in the game. But here's the thing: Anthony Davis playing in the 2020 season. I mean, in the 1920 season, they win the NBA championship. In the 2021 season, they had 6 weeks. They basically had 6 weeks before training camp reopened, and they had to get right back to it. Anthony Davis moving to the 5 from the 4. He ends up getting hurt because he put on extra weight. Yep. So that was a problem. Even though they were up in the series against Phoenix, that was a problem. He ended up getting hurt. In 22, they completely missed the playoffs because Anthony Davis gets hurt again. And then last year, they get swept out of the playoffs in the Western Conference Championship. But what's going to be the narrative? The narrative is going to be, yo, you were a top 5 player during that time. You're the greatest of all time. How do you miss the playoffs 3 times in 6 years in your prime? That's going to be I'm going to be one of those people that's going to shut that narrative down because I'm going to try to put some context to it. But that's going to be the logic on him. From as H would say on her shirt, the actual casual, not the X casual.
What's it say on your shirt?
It says X casual. H is not a casual.
But I admit it, I'm still
right.
Casual.
X casual. Now, here's the thing, though, Tone. This is where it gets tricky.
Fluent.
It gets tricky.
I just don't know if it's a doctorate or an honorary doctorate. That's why I'm asking.
This is where it gets tricky, though, Tone. It gets tricky because KD misses the entire season in 1920 because he's recovering from an Achilles injury. He missed the entire playoff. In addition to him missing the playoffs, the next year he gets hurt again, and they lose in the semifinals. Kyrie Irving gets hurt. They get swept out of the playoffs the next year in 22. He demands to be traded in 23.
Yep.
In the process of him demanding to be traded, he gets traded to a bomb squad. Bradley Beal doesn't hold up. Devin Booker is in and out of the lineup. KD is the only constant. In fact, he's having one of his best seasons this year. If you look at his numbers and you look at his percentage, I think it's the second highest field goal percentage, second or third highest field goal percentage that he's had in his career this year. So with all of that being said, as good as he's playing, that's going to get thrown by the wayside. Why? Because for the third time, not for the third time, this team that he demanded to be traded to misses the playoffs. Not only do they not get bounced in round 1, H, they miss the playoffs altogether.
Which I tried telling people, Jay, I have a clip saved because nobody, and I'm talking to you, Leaf, nobody understood it. And look, and I'm with you, and I'm with you, Jay. I think context means everything, and all these narratives about who has the most to lose by missing the playoffs, like these are the conversations I'm sure we'll have in a week or so when things are kind of set in stone. But does this say something about the league? And also a question. Obviously, you always know I'm going to take, I guess, the Warriors side a little bit. I'm with you with LeBron. I also agree context matters. We can't really hold this against him. But don't you almost feel like, as a Warriors fan, I see that the league has almost punished Golden State for growing these guys within the team, building them up. They were successful. They did everything a team should do for the most part. They win this. Yeah, they win this 4th chip for Steph. And then they can't even keep the talent that they did have because of the luxury tax in the second apron. And so that's my biggest frustration, I guess, is do you think that that's how things should be? What did they say? Like, play now, pay later, or pay now, play later, right? That's what my grandpa always said to me.
Play now, pay later. Yep.
Yeah, so they played, but now they're paying? Or do you think that the league has changed its array of rules to almost punish some of these teams that have done it the correct way?
Well, I'm not sure that they've punished the Warriors. I mean, that's why the bird rights were implemented. So you can pay your guy, excuse me, so you can pay your guys whatever you want to pay them and not worry about the salary cap. That's why the bird rules were invented. But with that being said, H, you still have to capitalize on your talent that you have. You still have to capitalize on trading people. You still have to capitalize on acquiring talent. You can't just expect it to work out like the Warriors did when in 22, when you win the NBA championship. That's a great time to move off of some of these guys because their value is high and upgrade this roster. That's a great time to do that. Only except, wait a minute, we just won the NBA championship. We're back. We're going to run the table again. No, actually, you're not. This is a good time. And you guys did it. You guys fell victim to it. The 2021 Atlanta Hawks fell victim to it. The 2019 Portland Trailblazers did the same thing. When you don't upgrade your roster at the time when you should, you find out really quickly how bad you could get fast. And this Warriors team, I mean, they've been going the other way. It's obvious that they're not better than the Lakers when Anthony Davis is healthy. Yeah. But with all of that being said, this roster is average. It's an average roster. Tone doesn't like Steve Kerr. I actually like Steve Kerr as a manager, an X and O guy. He's got an X and O guy over there, just like Phil Jackson had an X and O guy. I like him as a player manager, which is what Phil Jackson was, which is where he learned it from. I like him as a disciplinarian, which is also where he learned it from with Greg Popovich. Yes, he learned that from.
I'm pretty
well. I'll give you an example, Tone. When the whole thing happened with Draymond, right?
Yeah,
when the whole thing happened with Draymond and Jordan Poole. First and foremost, we were never supposed to see that. That was supposed to be handled in-house, and it was going to be handled in-house. Only except we saw it, and once we saw it, and it got out, then it became a huge problem.
How did we see it?
How did we see it?
It got leaked.
Yeah,
it got leaked. Yeah,
right. How did it get leaked?
By a mole. We all know who, but I can't say.
Who? Say it. Who leaked it?
The video guy. That's who leaked it.
Well, I think it's this guy named Joe who leaked it to Sean.
Who is in charge of that house?
Not Steve Kerr.
No,
Wrong.
Really? So everyone runs the franchise.
Steve Kerr is in charge of that house. And if something comes out of his house that he doesn't approve, that's on him. He did not discipline Draymond Green. Draymond Green, this is not the first time Draymond Green's done something stupid. Let's be honest. You think that's the first time he hit a teammate in practice?
Right.
Bullcrap. Do you think it's the first time? Was it the first time he did something crazy in a game to an opponent? No. One, a bunch of people say cost him a whole series.
Right.
So Steve Kerr is not a disciplinarian. Steve Kerr might be a player manager or players coach or that nonsense that people say. But the one thing about Phil Jackson, who was similar in his, I'm going to manage the egos, he had an X's and O guy who had been in coaching in basketball since the 40s and 50s. So he had a guy who knew. Steve Kerr does not have that guy. He doesn't have a text like Phil Jackson had a text.
Right.
Phil Jackson also had a maniac as his best player in both situations. Love him or hate him, he had Kobe and Jordan who he'll keep you in line, right? People are going to do stuff, but they're going to be held accountable by their best player. And with all due respect to Steph, he's not that type of personality, right? And that's not a knock against him, but he's just not that type. So you can't be a la 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 rainbows and unicorns coach when you don't have that type of star player that's going to keep everybody else in line. So that's why I put the blame on Steve Kerr. Now, I will say this. That championship with Andrew Wiggins as their second best player was a surprise to everybody. Even you, the Warriors fan, be honest, you were surprised, right? You were like,
yeah, absolutely. Nobody could have foreseen that. And if they claim that, they're lying.
The Warriors are loyal to a fault because they were like, hey, we won. Let's treat these guys. Listen, I'm not knocking what they're doing from a team perspective. Let's reward these guys for what they did. Let's run it back. But we all knew that team was too old. Andrew Wiggins was not going to have that kind of season again. That was lightning in a bottle that 1 year. Now, respect him because he's had some off the court stuff that he's had to deal with, which has played a huge role in this. Right. But aside from that, I love Andrew Wiggins. He can't be the second best player on your team. So they did
not moving forward.
And I don't think it's fair to say we knew. I think you could have speculated that based on his previous career, but I don't think we knew he was going to be.
Listen, people are who they show, right? What did Maya Angelou say? If someone shows you who they are, believe them. You can't go 10, 12, 14 years being one thing, and then 1 year you're like, oh, you're something different. And so I don't believe it. So all I'm saying is they did themselves as a team a disservice of not saying, okay, we need to upgrade. Listen, we love Clay. We love Dre. That core can't get you there, right? Because how did we know that? Because Andrew Wiggins was the second best player that won that championship. So at that point, hey, we've got Clay and Dre who have a name. There's going to be teams that'll give too much for those guys. That's what you have to do from a basketball perspective. Right. I understand what they did, though. I applaud what they did. If I was on their team, they said, hey, no, stay. Here's a bunch of money. Thank you. I'm taking it, but.
So is Steph paying with his prime years to keep a elderly or a veteran Klay Thompson and Draymond Green?
Well, he's not paying with his prime years because they already got the best years out of him. Not only did they get the best years out of him, they got championships and all NBAs and MVPs. So he's on the other side of his prime years. I don't even know how much longer Steph's going to actually play, to be quite honest with you, let alone play at this level. I think that he can play at this level for another year, maybe two tops. That's as far as I'm going with Steph Curry in terms of him playing at an elite level. But with that being said, I can't discount Klay Thompson had 2 career-ending injuries in back-to-back summers. So once you are able to do what you guys did, H, which is win the NBA championship, you open some eyes to some clubs who looked at Klay Thompson like, you know what? He looks like he still may have it. He might be able to help us.
He might be the missing piece. That championship pedigree, right? The shooting.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Let's give Steph his due, right? Like, he led that team. Let me say it again. He was the best player. He led that team to 5 straight NBA finals. They won 4 of them. A couple of years later, they won a damn other one that everybody was surprised that they did. He's done his part for the Warriors. There's nothing. Don't forget, this is a kid that got drafted late. Matt Flynn got drafted before him. Had bad ankles. Wasn't going to be the guy. You want to talk about exceeding? You want to talk about exceeding expectations?
Right.
He's right. So again, from a basketball perspective, this team. And here's the thing, though. And this is maybe again another mistake. Chris Paul, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're even with an old Clay, and a suspect Wiggins, they were still one player away. And they thought that guy was Kuminga because they wouldn't give him up. Just so you know, Kuminga and another piece that you wouldn't have missed for Siakam, right? Yeah. And they said, no, we believe in Kuminga, but then you don't play him.
That doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
That doesn't make any sense at all, right?
But to go back to your point about Kerr being as a disciplinarian, I don't think that he's the disciplinarian that Greg Popovich is, but I do think that he took some of Greg Popovich's disciplinarian style in addition to Phil Jackson. What I mean when I say that is, yes, we've heard from time to time him say, I'm sick of Draymond's you know what, and I want to do this with Draymond, and he's done that. But I think that a lot of times his hands were tied, very much like Phil. Phil's hands were tied when he was in Chicago. But Phil was more of the let's keep it in house, not just let's keep it in house, but let these guys handle it. Let's not let management handle it. Let's let these guys handle it, because Phil Jackson had this us against everybody else mentality. It was the players, and then it was management aside. So let's stay together, and whatever issues we have, let's keep it right here, which is kind of what Steve Kerr was trying to do with Draymond. But the problem is that a lot of that stuff got out. Draymond acting out the way he did. I'm pretty sure it was much more than what we saw, Tone. Let's be clear about that. A lot of the stuff that was going on with Draymond, I'm sure that there was more that was going on in-house.
Of course.
Why do you think that tape got leaked? That tape got leaked because whoever leaked it was probably sick of Draymond.
Sick of it. Yeah, absolutely.
Probably sick of Draymond. You know what? I've had it with him.
And let me just go back. The issue with Kerr's approach of us against them is that in Chicago, Phil Jackson had a villain. Phil Jackson had a villain in Jerry Krause.
He did.
Nobody liked Jerry Krause. Just when you met people who met him one time are like, I don't like that dude. And so it was easy for Phil. Hell, even Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner of the team, said, him and Jordan both said to Scottie Pippen, yo, Jerry Krause is ripping you off with that deal. You shouldn't take it. When the owner of the team and the best player tell you, don't sign, and like Jerry Krause, you want to know why Jerry Krause was the villain, why people boo him? Well, it's because everybody around him, and I'm not saying I never met the man. I don't know. I'm just telling you, I know for a fact everybody around him told everybody else around him he's the bad guy, right? Let's show them, right? This is our last dance. Jerry Krause told me, I don't know that Jerry Krause really told this to Phil Jackson, but Phil Jackson told it to Michael Jordan. Jerry Krause told me, even if I go 82-0, I'm not going to have a job next year. So this is our last dance.
He's on tape saying that, Tone. He's in front of a camera saying that Phil Jackson will not be the head coach next year. I don't care if we go 82-0.
So he embraced the villain. He embraced the villain.
Yeah,
so they
on tape saying that.
But in the Warriors camp, Bob Myers wasn't a bad guy.
However, no, he wasn't. However, Tone, just like not Stan. I'm sorry. Is it Jeff? Just like Jeff Van Gundy in 2002? He saw the hole in the ship. He saw the hole in the ship.
Yeah.
He saw the hole in the ship, and he said, "This ship is going down, and I am not going down with it."
He knew the situation he put them in. Yeah. Especially
I told you guys what to do.
Apron, second apron, 12th apron.
Yeah.
Here's the millionaire. You said this to me a year ago, Tone, when you was telling me about the salary cap with 200 or being $300 million on the hook. I'm like, how can you run a business like that? How can you run a business like that when we owe an extra on top of what we're already paying? We got to pay an extra $300 million. How can you run a business like that? You can't. That is not sustainable. That's number one. No, that's number one. That's a trophy. Thanks. That's number one. Number two, this Warriors team has had good draft picks. I actually like Pods, H.
Yeah,
I actually like. I like
Kuminga. He was a steal. That was a good.
Yeah.
That was.
I like
him
Pods.
and Trace. Yeah.
I like Trace. I like this kid. I like this kid Jackson. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I like the pieces that you have. And
but
when
those,
you had
those should have been traded. Those should have been traded for. This is a win now team.
Right.
When your best players are 35 plus, it's a win now team. And no offense, you can't wait for Pod and Kuminga and trade. Like you can't wait for these guys.
If we're doing that, if we're doing that, Tone, then we got to move off the old guys and start over.
Right. Yeah. Now listen,
Toronto's been that two timeline problem.
Toronto's not in the same boat.
Say it again, H. I'm sorry.
No, I was just agreeing. Like it's that two timeline problem we've been talking about since last season, and you can't do both. You have to either invest in one and trade Clay, or invest in the vets, like you said, Fluent and Jay. And
like I used Toronto's a really good example of this, where they were like, "Hey, we're doing the youth thing, right? It's gonna be Scotty Barnes, IQ, RJ Barrett. This is gonna be our core. Okay, cool. Well, before that, it was gonna be Scotty Barnes is our core, so we're gonna start young. All right. So what happens? Well, OG's got to move out. Fred VanVleet, we got to let go. Pascal Siakam, got to trade him up. So if that's going to be your thing, is okay, we're going to build around these young guys, then Steph and Clay and Dre got to go. They're not doing that, which fine. So then it's the young guys that have to go. But you can't be in the middle. Like there's no team. I'm trying to think. Maybe the Spurs were able to transition from kind of from the Robinson to the Duncan era.
Right.
But they didn't win until they had both, right? It's not like the Spurs won and then they brought in, championships. It's not like they had one with Duncan, they were one with Robinson and then brought in Robinson, who there was a big significant age gap, and then they transitioned. No, they had the one, they brought in the other, they won, and then they whatever. Now they tried to do that with Kawhi, but by the time Kawhi got to that point, he was out. But I can't think of a team that has been able to do the superstar championships and the youth movement at the same time and transition. There's always a gap. There's always a gap where they have to rebuild.
So when you
not just for winning, because winning, teams can win.
Sure. So San Antonio, when they were able to close that gap with Duncan and drafting Tony Parker and getting Ginobili in the second round. Well, first of all, if you remember, if I'm not mistaken, Steph Curry at that point, he's like 33, 32 years old. Like when they got Tony Parker in 2001, Tim Duncan is in year 4. When they got Ginobili in 2003, Duncan is in year 6. So he's relatively a young guy, still moving forward. So it's not like they're building this unit with Tim Duncan, who's in year 9 or year 10, and they got a bunch of kids around him. No, he's still relatively close to these guys' age, where we can still build around him. Steph, on the other hand, when you get Kuminga in 22, Steph is 33 years old, right? Steph's 34 years old. Klay Thompson is coming off 2 career-ending injuries. Draymond is 31 years old. He's probably got 2, maybe 3 more years at this level before he starts slowing down.
Yeah.
So I think the situation with the Warriors is a little bit different in the aspect that you have guys that are aging like this, and you got young guys. If we want to keep the ship rolling, if we want to keep this ship moving, one thing we have to do is we got to move off of these young guys and get more vets in here. And not just get more vets in here. This has now become a year-to-year thing. That's essentially what we're doing. We're not building for 3 or 4 years because we're not going to waste any more of Steph's years. Like that, he broke his hand. That was a wasted year. Not because of him. He broke his hand.
Yeah.
21 when Clay couldn't play, and I think they lost Clay, and Draymond was out too. and Steph ends up leading the league in scoring. I feel like that's another wasted year. Like we can't waste any more of his years. So as far as management goes, we're in a space right now where we've devalued our vets who we could have moved off of years ago. Now we're in a space where we have to play our young guys. And this offseason, the guys that we have in terms of our vets, like what kind of, first of all, Klay comes off the books after this season.
Yep.
Klay comes off
and
the
now
books.
His value is at the lowest it's ever been. Because, yeah.
So the question is what are you willing to pay him? Because I don't think he wants to leave.
No.
But what is Klay's actual value? Andrew Wiggins, how many more years do you have him? Tone thinks that we've seen the best of Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah, I think
Tone thinks it's time to move. Tone thinks it's time to move off of him. that you've probably gotten the best out of Andrew Wiggins. You're probably not going to get any more.
What do they say on Wildin' Out?
I don't know.
Ow!
Yeah, you probably gotten the best out of him. So that's Klay Thompson. I think this team is going to look. It's going to look a lot different next year. And if I'm being honest, I don't think Steph wants to be a part of a rebuild, especially if they're going young. I don't think he wants anything to do with that.
So are you think what percentage are you convinced that Steph would be willing to move to a different team?
I'm willing to go as high as 80%, depending on what the crew is. If they can put Steph in a position where, bless you, where they can put him in a position where he can still contend for an NBA championship. Now, remember, Steph Curry is 36 years old, still got some good years left. But if you trade him, how realistic are you in trading him? Because if you're moving off of him and trading him, I don't know, let's say to Philadelphia, you ain't getting Joel Embiid. That's not happening.
No,
Philly's not giving
Maxey
you Joel Embiid.
And
right.
2 others maybe.
No, you're not getting Joel Embiid. So what exactly do you want for Steph Curry? And what are you willing to take for him? There's a difference between what I want and what I'm willing to take for Steph Curry.
The problem with that, though, is this is a situation where, again, you like this as a player, is that the Warriors are going to do right by Steph. So they're gonna talk to Steph and they're gonna say, "Hey, where do you want to go? Yeah. What's the situation for you?"
Like a Dame situation type thing.
But they'll be smart. They'll be smart because they would have learned from what happened with Dame. They'll be like, "Hey, don't say anything. Don't say anything publicly."
Keep this here. Yeah.
Or the mole's gonna come back and leak that too.
We're the 2 or 3 teams that you feel like make the most sense for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Let us reach out to them, just kind of back channel a little bit and see. And they're not going to get the return that people expect because it's going to be, hey, Steph is the final piece to whatever team. You know, if it's Phoenix, right? If it's LA, if it's like, again, I don't know. Maybe he wants, not that he would want to go to Charlotte, but maybe he wants to go to Charlotte where he's from, or Toronto where he, you know, as a young teen. I don't know where it is that he's going to want to go. I'm assuming it's going to be a good team.
New York.
Say, hey, let's use Phoenix as an example. I don't think he's going there, but they're going to say, okay, well, Phoenix, what can we get? Well, you want to keep KD there, duh. And so it's going to be one of Booker or Beal, a bunch of first round picks, or this or that or whatever, right? So it would be that type of scenario where, hey, let's get some young guys, let's get some, because wherever he goes, it's, hey, we need to win right now. Like we have, you're going to go this year. We want to win. It's not we want to. Yeah, Dallas. If it's Dallas, sure. It's Kyrie. It's, you know, again, draft picks. It's somebody young. It's wherever it is. So that's why it's going to be very difficult, because I don't think they'll be like, oh, send him to Minnesota. Minnesota's not a bad situation right now. Send him to actually Charlotte's the worst situation. Send him to the Wizards, right? They're not going to do that to him. Again, unless he wants to go there, which I doubt. So, but again, I honestly don't believe under any circumstances Steph is getting traded. I believe he is going to die an old man in Golden State, as he should.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, as a Dubs fan, obviously,
you guys think he's Kobe? You guys think he's dirt?
Yeah. 100%. I think if you ask almost any, I'm okay to entertain it. And if he wanted to move, I would absolutely. Same with Dame. I was like, sign off on that. 100% go, be free. But knowing Steph,
Dame's a different situation, right? Sorry to cut you off, but Dame's a different situation where he's he's trying to get a ring. Right? Steph has 4.
Yeah, but Steph's
so
one of the greatest players of all time. Like
Steph,
if he wants more, I think he deserves more.
No, I'm saying, but my point is, I don't think he's going to be as like desperate to move or eager to move as Dame, because Dame's like, I need to win one in this ring era, right? Of ring narrative, I need to win a ring. And so Steph has 4, and he got his Finals MVP. So he's I think he's good. Like I don't think he's gonna say, "Oh, I need to get to I need to go to Denver and win a chip with Jokic. I need to I don't think that's where
I think that would almost tarnish his legacy more. And this is why I don't think, to me, if he did that, I would be like, okay, go for it. We all want the best for you. But I think a ring chaser is what that label like comes with, no matter if you are or not. And I think it's going to tarnish Steph's story versus if you do the beautiful thing of retire a dub, you never left, you're the most loyal player after Kobe, stuff like that. That's a storyline you want. Unless Steph doesn't seem like the type of guy to just shake up everything and leave. I think he wants that fan base to back him up, and I think he's loyal to the soil. But man, it's a conversation that's it's interesting to have, and I'm just wondering, like I was thinking about that today because as a Warriors fan, I'm kind of like, okay, well our season's over, so what's next? And I'm just curious to see
you feel it's over.
Well, yeah,
I just want you to know, Fluent Junior.
Yeah.
Said, here's his playoff predictions, and he basically said Warriors end up as the 8th seed.
Okay.
They knock off Denver in round 1, the Clippers in round 2, and I don't even know who he said, and they ended up in the NBA Finals. So
and then they beat Boston again.
he is the only one who picked them to win that year with Wiggins. So
I rock with Fluent Jr. Don't get me wrong, but I think I'm just at a point where it's like, okay, if we somehow get past, the play-in and we make it to the first round and play Denver or Timberwolves and you lose, like, it's just like, what's worse? Is it worse to just go and have the whole offseason to figure things out? Or is it worse to miss the playoffs entirely and at least attempt to, play in the play-in? But then if you lose to LA, then there's this whole Steph and LeBron narrative. And it's just like, I don't know. I don't know exactly what the season's going to entail, but I do want to move on to the other 3 teams because I do think it's interesting.
Since we're on the subject of your dubs really quickly, H, you're down by 2 at the half. No buckets. No Tyler Hero. Who else is not playing tonight? I want to make sure that I get this correct. No buckets. No Tyler Hero. Who else is not playing?
Bam?
No, Bam's out there.
Okay.
Bam is available.
Oh, Duncan. No Duncan.
No Duncan, and we're missing somebody else too. No Kevin Love neither.
Yeah. See, this is what I'm saying. I think we have to go like 4-2, and that's, we don't know what the Rockets are gonna do. But Jay, okay, so we mentioned these 4 teams, 3 of which are some of the top 10 best players in the league currently with LeBron, KD, and then of course we've got Luka. What happened?
What do you mean 3 of the 4? Who's not in the top 10?
LeBron's a top 10 player right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a conversation. I don't know. I think you can make an argument for Steph being the top 5 player, but
who are the 10? Who are the 10? Who are the 10 better? Who are the 10 players better than LeBron?
I would say Tatum, Luka, Shea, Ant. We've got Jokic. Embiid was, but now he's out. So we'll say, did I say Luka?
Yeah,
no, not yet. Luka, Steph. Is Anthony? Oh, go ahead.
You didn't say Giannis. You didn't say Giannis.
Giannis. Dame, I think, has an argument. Who else am I missing here?
Anthony Davis.
I said Ant.
You did say Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis.
You got Anthony Davis.
You got Anthony Davis over LeBron and Steph?
Anthony Davis is definitely a top 10 player. Yes.
I guess. I think they're both in. So
don't leave out KD neither. KD is a top 10 player.
Well, if you said AD, then the Lakers have a top 10 player.
That's what I was thinking. Isn't AD having a better season? Like, isn't he up for where he was up for Defensive Player of the Year, which we'll get into?
He is up for Defensive Player of the Year. Yes, he is.
So I was just I was just thinking, like, what happened this season? And this will kind of go into what Adam Silver, we were going to talk about Adam Silver, but in his recent interview, he did actually talk about how incredible it has been to see like guys like Shea and really stepping up to the plate, and not just like NBA fans know these guys. No, now like casuals are starting to know who these guys are because they're so involved with all, you know, everything going on with fashion and events and all this stuff. Okay. So thoughts on, do you guys hear a little echo?
I do have it. Yeah, I'm hearing an echo.
Okay. But yes.
Is it me?
I'm not sure.
Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on.
Fix it in a sec.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, I think that's better. But yeah, so anyways, I'm just curious, kind of, obviously I thought that the Suns may struggle this season. Obviously defensively, that was always in question, but the Lakers and Dallas are two that I just think I had higher expectations for both. So what are some of the reasons we're seeing so many of these teams fall? And do you think it could almost be an illusion that some of these top teams have stayed relatively high seeded for the majority of the season? But once it comes down to the postseason, are we going to see things shift or see some of the lowest seeds actually move to the top?
I think the Lakers are built for the postseason. And I think that a favorable matchup for them, if they do make the playoffs, I'm not sure if they're going to make the playoffs, but if they do make the playoffs, I think that they can make some noise. The one team that I thought would give them the biggest problem is the Denver Nuggets. I don't know. I mean, Joker just is better than Anthony Davis, and it's just a bad matchup for that crew, no matter what, no matter how you try to slice it with that Laker team. If I look at the way that group is put together, it's very much like Miami. And the playoffs is all about matchups. If you think about how good a team is, if they get a bad matchup, you could find yourself, one, in a dogfight, or even two, in jeopardy of losing in the playoffs. We've seen great teams get bad matchups early. The Dallas Mavericks in 2007, the Seattle Supersonics in 94, when they ended up losing in the first round when they got that matchup against Denver. So we've seen teams get bad matchups early and they end up losing. The San Antonio Spurs in 2010 when they played against Memphis as an 8 seed. So that's happened. The Milwaukee Bucks last year playing against Miami. So we've seen teams get bad matchups. But I feel like the Lakers are built for the postseason, and if they can get themselves a favorable matchup again, if they end up getting in the playoffs, I think they can make some noise.
The Lakers' biggest issue is that they went to the Western Conference Finals last year, and then they came in this year, and that stupid play-in tournament was early, and they went out with the intent to win it. They were one of a few teams who were like, "This is important. We're going to win it," and they turned it on and they won it. And I think the problem is, all the guys on that team think they have the ability to turn it on and turn it off, and they don't. LeBron James does. He's the only one on that team.
Yeah.
And so I think what happened is, after the play-in tournament, they were like, all right, let's turn it down a notch, and then let's get through the regular season because we're built for the playoffs. And I think at times they've said, can we turn it on? And one or two guys have been able to, but that's where they've been really inconsistent, is because they don't have that switch.
Where does that mindset derive from? Is that a coaching problem? Is that just a team chemistry?
I think it just kind of, in this case, it happened organically because they made the trades midway through the season last year. They played phenomenally for the whole site because they were playing with urgency. And like I said, they go into the Western Conference Final. They realized, hey, Denver stomped us, but the games were close. Even though it was a sweep, the games were. It wasn't like they were losing by 30. Like they were like, hey,
on average margin of 6. It was a 2-possession game every game that they played.
And they probably went into the offseason saying, hey, think about what everybody said. They won the offseason, right? So we've made those tweaks. Denver's lost a couple of guys. Hey, we're good. And so I think, and then like I said, and then the play-in tournament, I think they peaked too early. It's like, that guy that peaks in high school and then afterwards keeps living back on his 4 touchdowns in one game. So I think they peaked a little early, and they got to find a way to get it back. They are built for the playoffs. Here's the problem. This team could just as easily make the NBA final as they can lose in the first round.
Or not make the playoffs.
Or not make the playoffs.
Because matchup, right? If they got to win 2 games against, Dallas, Golden State, Phoenix, they can, and all they have to do is lose one of those 2 games. They could. And then if they are the 8th seed and Denver's the 1, look, they might not get swept, but they're out. But should OKC or Minnesota, because they're within 1 game of Denver, leapfrog them and they're the 8th seed or they're the 7th seed, and if they don't meet Denver, they could easily be meeting Denver or hope that Denver loses somebody else. And that's why I say they can make the Western Conference Final, they can make the final. That's what a huge gap this is for this team, is that they are built for the playoffs. And if they can turn it back on, we've seen, I know it was a small sample size, we've seen how good they could be in that play-in tournament. So, and I'm not saying that as a Laker fan, I'm saying that from watching them play, but that's what worries me about them. In terms of, what was the other team you said? Dallas?
Dallas and Phoenix.
I doubt anybody said Dallas was going to be good this year.
I had them as a play-in team.
Hesitant. Yeah,
okay. I had them as a play-in team before the season started. Not because I didn't think that they would be a good team, Tone, but I had them as a play-in team off the strength that I felt like the Western Conference was going to be really good. So you could be separated, and it damn sure is. I mean, you could be the 5th seed, and you could be 2 games ahead of the 9th seed. So I didn't have Dallas as a play-in team because I didn't think that they would be very good. But to answer H's question, I feel like one of the major problems with the Lakers was consistency. They didn't do anything consistent this year. Like, what did they do consistent this year? Well, they were one of the better passing teams. They also were one of the worst. They were also one of the worst teams in taking care of the basketball too. I think they were in the top 5 in the league in turnovers. So they didn't do that very well. So they didn't take care of the basketball.
They keep getting fouled.
Right. Well, they definitely, they were at the stripe a lot. So they weren't one of the most consistent teams. Anthony Davis was actually consistent, but did he play consistently during the season? Right. So James is another one who I shouldn't even be talking about James like I'm talking about him, where he's not playing in Milwaukee tonight. Instead of me going, you know what? That's not bad for him to have a night off. I'm thinking, why isn't James playing? Just so you know, he's almost 40. He should be able to have nights off because he's that old. And I mean, we're talking about a guy who he shouldn't be playing, shouldn't have to do as much as he's doing in order for them to win. He just shouldn't have to do that. But the point is that I feel like this team hasn't really done anything.
Sorry to cut you off, but you can't build a team around him doing all that and then say I don't expect him to do it, because the team is built around him doing all that. Right. And not only is the team around him doing all that, but I agree. But not only is the team built around, he is a victim of his own circumstance, because not only is the team built around him doing all that, he's saying it publicly. Hey, Darvin Ham, I can play point, right? I can. So he's right. Putting that on himself. So while I agree with you, I wouldn't be saying, hey, let's put all of our eggs in a 40-year-old man's basket. No, he's holding the basket, dumping them eggs in there too. Right. So
but that's largely due to the fact, Tone, that he doesn't know how to not do that. That's who he's always been. From the beginning. He's always been that. That's why I had such a difficult time saying, even though I felt like it was true, that's why I had such a difficult time saying this team is going to go as far as Anthony Davis takes them, knowing for a fact that James is not going to take a back seat to him, even though he said Anthony Davis is our guy. No, he isn't. If he was your guy, then you would be the primary distributor. You wouldn't score as much. You'd get off the peel way more and involve him in the offense, would run through him like it did with Jabbar, like it did with Shaq, like it did with other players who are great players, where the offense is running through them and they're taking over the helm.
But he'd be having conversations with Rob Pelinka saying, hey, we need to bring in 3 centers so that Anthony Davis can do what he's comfortable doing, which is playing next to a defensive rebounding big. He is so much better, and they don't have to be great. He looks so much better. I know I'm going back a few years, but he looks so much better next to Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee. Like, he looks so much better with those guys who to their credit did their thing, played their role, didn't look to score, just rebounded, did all the things he doesn't want to do. And he is better when he isn't heavier, right? When he's heavier, he's not the same player.
Tone, he's been playing at this weight since 2013, 2014. I think 2014. He's been at 2014. He was 250 pounds
at that weight. But
he's carrying it different today. I can understand. It looks more bottom heavy than it did.
I didn't want to be that guy that said that, right?
Sure. He's carrying it different.
It's also how, but it's also how he's using it, right? Because when you're a little bit heavier, but again, the way it's distributed was where I didn't want to go. But also, he's not banging with those guys doing that stuff. He's a little bit removed from that. He has other guys doing that. And that's where I think it's the combination of the two things. He's also, hey, look, not that he's old, but he's also older. His body's been injured. And you know this as someone who's
30
been
years
injured.
old, Tom. He's 30 years old, Tom.
You're never the same once you have an injury. And listen, every 10 years, you know, we've been through this a couple of times. Yeah. There's a drop off every decade. There's people are 29 and they think like, oh, I'm invincible. You hit 30 and you're like, oh, what's that
really
creep?
Easily. Yes.
It changes quickly on you. But so that's all I'm saying is, if they really wanted to do what you do that, they would have shown Anthony Davis, and they haven't. And that's why I said this team is still built around LeBron as the system.
And as far as Dallas is concerned, I'm on record saying that I feel like what Luka has to do, they've built that team around his skill set. And what is Luka's skill set? Luka's skill set is being the dominant ball handler, the dominant playmaker. The offense he's not just the primary ball handler. The offense runs through him too. Well, Luka plays off the basketball too. He doesn't play off the basketball as much as he plays on it. I can tell you that right now, because if he did, then you wouldn't see 42, 18, and 16. You wouldn't see 39, 15, and 12. You wouldn't see that sort of stuff. The reason why you're seeing that stuff, right? The reason why you're seeing that stuff is because that's who Luka is. Luka is the guy who has to do all of the stuff he has to do in order for this team to be good. That's why this team is built the way it is. It's built around Luka's skill set. Now, I thought with getting Kyrie Irving, he'd have a guy who he's playing off of, who he can just get the ball to and actually rest, where he doesn't have to do much. I can get the ball to Irv. I can get out of the way. We can run sets for him. And also maybe even get Irv to distribute, maybe even make for me, maybe get me involved in the offense where I don't have to be the primary ball handler. I don't have to be the primary scorer. I don't have to be not every night. I don't have to do that. Only except it hasn't worked out that way. And the reason why it hasn't worked out that way, because that's Luka's game. The same thing, Tone, that you talked about with LeBron James, that's Luka. This is how Luka plays. This is how he's always played. This is who he is. And when you play with him, which can be difficult from time to time, when you play with him, you understand that I'm going to have to play off the basketball. I'm going to have to be prepared to shoot. Not only am I going to have to be prepared to shoot, I'm going to have to be prepared to watch from time to time, because I watch Mavs games, and they run a lot of sets where they clear the floor out for Luka, and they let Luka just go to work and create shots for other people. And because of that, I mean, I don't think that's that difficult to guard, especially when you get to the playoffs. And I think the way that this team is built around Luka's skill set. The problem is I feel like he has to do way more than he should have to in order for them to win.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like a 90s team. They've got like the one ISO superstar and then a bunch of and I'm not disrespecting Kyrie when I say this, a bunch of other guys. And I feel like in today's NBA, you can't like Luka and Kyrie are not enough. And after Kyrie, there's a drop off in Dallas. And to your point, that's why Luka has to do so much, is because there's a drop off after those two guys, and that's again poor roster construction. I said this before, right? Remember what I said to you? I said I wouldn't be surprised. I said this 2 years ago or a year ago. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Luka in Dallas, because I don't think he's going to stand, because he wants to win. Right? I don't think
leave Dallas. You mean you wouldn't be surprised if you saw him leave Dallas? You did say that. Yes, you did.
If he leaves that, because I feel like he's not Dirk. He's not going to just stick around and wait and hope that they have one kind of magical season. Like, this dude really wants to win. He's very competitive.
The question, though, Tone, is if he really wants to win, is his game conducive to winning right now?
Yes.
I think it is too. I do.
I think it is. I think it's because I think he's playing the way he feels he has to play to win, and I don't think he's wrong. Whereas I think if you put him in a different situation where, hey, move the ball faster, do other things, and he's like, that's going to win, I think he has a high enough basketball IQ that he would play that way. But I think he's in a situation where I think he's like, I have to. I compare not his game, but I compare his mentality on this Mavs team to like Kobe in those bad years with Smush and Kwame. I compare him to Jordan, in the early years where it's like, I got nobody else that wants to play.
86, 87, 88.
Yeah. And so I have to do this. Now, whether they're right or wrong, I don't know. But I believe that's what they think. No one's telling them any different. When they do it, they win. So it's like, okay, I know that this is working, and that's what I got to do. So I feel, I can't believe I'm gonna say this. I feel bad for Luka because I feel like they're 6 years now wasting this like super talented guy.
Well, here's the thing, though, Tone. I mean, when I look at Luka's game and I look at somebody trying to change it, like how difficult that's going to be, because I don't want to be honest with you. On the one hand, I don't want to hamper him. I don't want to hamper him. I don't want to put restrictions on Luka. I want to turn Luka loose, and I want him to keep playing his game. I'm just thinking to myself, with a guy who's that talented, why don't we get pieces around him that are conducive to his game, as opposed to him having to do all of this other stuff? Now, don't get me wrong. Luka is a bucket getter. Luka is a distributor, right? Luka is a rebounder. He can do all of these things. In the process of him doing that, the stuff that he has to do in addition to that, in order for them to win, there's a difference, Tone, between 19, 9, and 11 and 37, 17, and 14. Like, why does he have to do that much? That's telling me that the guys around him, one, aren't that good, which means that he has to do way more than he should. And two, he's going to wear down eventually. And ultimately, he may ask out because he's getting to a point where, okay, if I keep doing this, I'm in year 6, I'm in year 7, I'm in year 8, and I'm already on the record saying it, Tone, that when we get to this point where Luka is missing the playoffs for the second year, or he's missing the playoffs 3 times in 4 years, that love that everybody has for Luka, it's going to start to change, and it's going to get different, where the narrative on Luka is going to change. Well, maybe he isn't that good. Maybe he is a ball hog. Maybe he does this. Maybe he does too much. And I don't want that for him. I don't. I do not want that for him, because I feel like he's too good of an offensive player to get put in that box.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So sorry, my weekly my weekly blackout. But something you mentioned, Jay, is you said matchups are extremely important when it comes to the postseason. I agree with you. What would you say if you had to say each of those 4 teams we've been talking about? Can you name a weakness for each? So if we come to a situation where we see Phoenix versus Denver, or we see LA versus OKC, we can kind of start to weigh them out as the weeks go on. Is there a specific weakness that comes to mind for each of the 4 teams?
So if you look at the standings right now, so if the playoffs started today, okay, so this coming weekend, we got the play-in tournament, and Dallas got to play Phoenix. The weakness for Phoenix is Luka. I don't know what it is about Phoenix. Whenever he sees them, whenever he sees them, it's like he sees red, and he is ready to go after them. They have nobody to deal with him downhill. They have nobody to deal with him in drop cover, not just drop coverage. They don't have anybody to deal with him one-on-one. They don't have anybody to deal with him on the glass. When he gets doubled, he does everything he can to get other guys open. I don't know what it is about them. He is supremely confident against Phoenix. Phoenix's biggest problem, I've said this in the beginning of the season, and I'll say it till the season is over, they don't have a lead guard. They don't have a table setter. They don't have a guy who can consistently control the offense. Bradley Beal and Devin Booker are better, just like CJ McCollum, which would explain why New Orleans is what they are. Bradley Beal and Devin Booker are better when they play off the basketball. That's who they are. They are 2 guards. Not only are they better when they play off the basketball, Devin Booker is a passer. He is not a guy. Devin Booker is a guy who can pass. He is not a passer. Those 2 things are not the same. Devin Booker can pass the ball, and he has. But I've seen games where he's got 8, 9 assists. And then I'd also see games where he's got 3 or 4 assists, and other guys aren't getting involved in the game. Well, that's that inconsistency of a floor leader and a table setter. So when games get helter-skelter, when the playoffs start, that's going to be a problem. So I think that Dallas would handle Phoenix. The problem that the Golden State Warriors have is in the paint. So if they got to play the Lakers, Anthony Davis is the difference in that game. Anthony Davis is the guy who they will go to for buckets. Anthony Davis is the guy who will control the glass. He will be the man in the middle. He will handle everything, both offensively and defensively. And I think that the Lakers' perimeter offense and their perimeter defense can handle anything that Golden State throws at them. I wouldn't say that to you, H, 2 or 3 years ago if Klay was healthy. If we're talking about a younger Steph Curry, I wouldn't say that to you a couple of years ago. I can say that today because they're not the same. And I think the difference in that is Anthony Davis and their perimeter offense.
Agreed. I agree with you. Fluent, any cons that come to mind for any of these 4 teams?
Cons? Well, there's tons.
What is each team's biggest con?
They're in the play-in. They're in the play-in, so there's a ton of
why?
cons.
What led to that?
Okay. The Warriors, because it's an old roster that just can't compete in today's NBA.
Before you go any further, Tone, quick question for you: does that happen like fast, or is that something that happens
not fast? You could wake up tomorrow just like that, and you're too old. Yeah, it sucks.
Wow.
But also, like I said, they put their faith in Kuminga taking a huge step, and they didn't play him. So there was some miscommunication there between the coach and the GM, because if you gotta give him the opportunity to take that step. Otherwise, you're kind of screwed. Before I go into the other 3 teams, can we shout out Little Miss Fluent, who had a bit of a weekend? I always tell you about Fluent Jr. when he does well at a basketball tournament, but our little dancer here
and won.
Oh, those are massive.
Nice.
Good job.
Hey, just so you know, hey, wait a minute before you go. Just so you know, dear. Just so you know, when you come in,
didn't fit in the car.
Just so you know, when you come in, that dance. Just so you know, dear. Just so you know, dear, when you come in, that dance that you just did. That's like now. That's regular. You got to do that on the show now. You can't just like this. You got to now. Whenever you come in, you got to. That's part of the show now. That's now. 5, 6, 7, 8. That's part of the show now. Now we've implemented. Yes, sir. Now we implemented. Yes, that's part of the show now.
Bye,
good to see you, dear.
Bye.
Bring that down. They had a weekend. Shout out to Somerville Dance. They do this cool thing now when they win, because they win all their competitions. The one side says SD what, and they go SDA. So I'm a proud dance dad. That's why this was me. Aww. I was like, I'm taking the trophy home, baby.
That's cute.
I'm taking it with
your trophy now.
Okay, so back to obviously that's
boy.
Hello,
boy.
How are you?
Good.
What's up, brother?
Hi. Okay.
What's up? Go to bed.
Go to bed.
We always get win time.
They come and say goodnight. It's nice.
Yeah.
Let's see. The Lakers, right? Like I said, it's been that inconsistency that we've said. They haven't done anything consistently all season. They're relying too much on 100-year-old LeBron. AD needs to be that guy on that team. Listen, even their role, like, man, just we're relying on Austin Reeves and D'Lo and Hachimura and
we relied on them last year, Tone. I mean, why did you stop them now? Yeah, and it worked. They ran into a buzzsaw in Denver.
I told you last week the difference between a player, an NBA player, and a star player is consistency. So you have your star players have to make up for all of their inconsistency. And like you said, putting all that on a 40-year-old man is tough. So that's
but how many stars are typically on a team? Like 3 if you're lucky. And
I think a way the way championship teams are built is you have a superstar who's like a scorer. Sometimes he can be a defender too, but typically he's a scorer.
Right.
Then you have a do it all kind of all around guy star who's an all around player. Then you have like your rebounder, either a perimeter or a low post defender that's elite. And then you have role players who shoot and make threes, who are energy guys. And then you kind of dirty work guys, like you fill in the next kind of 3-4 guys so that you have those 8 guys. After 8, it's a whatever. But those first 8, you have to have someone to check all those boxes if you're going to win. So that's where the Lakers are set up, is that they don't have that setup. They have a very weird setup where your all-around guy is actually your best player, who shouldn't be your best player. Your elite defender is also your second best, like 1A, 1B player in Anthony Davis. And then again, there's the drop-off. So it's tough for them because they don't have that kind of third. It's not third star player, meaning he is, all-star caliber. Not going to make.
Do we need that though, Tone? I mean, because it was Kobe and Shaq, and then there was a drop off between those guys. But those guys were
teams were built different then. Teams were built different then. You could win with two, but those were two superstar top 10 players, and then a bunch of role players who played their role.
Right.
If you go back and look at every team that's won in the last 10 years, they're built this way, right? You had Draymond. Forget the KD years for a second. You had Draymond, Clay, and Steph. And what was that? Steph, who's an elite scorer, not a great defender. Clay, who's a scorer and a defender. Draymond, who is a defender, can facilitate the offense, kind of does everything, can rebound, does everything. Right? And then you go down the list, and Harrison Barnes, and you had Iggy as the defender, right? Like that's the formula. KD was a cheat code. Yeah, KD was a cheat code when he joined the Warriors, because then you just added another superstar on top of all those other guys. But even the Cavs.
Forgive you for that, KD. Never forgive you for getting on that Warriors team.
Giannis and the Bucks, right? Same thing. Elite scorer. You had the rebounder. You had the shooting. The Chris Middleton guy. You had Drew Holiday as the elite perimeter defender. So you have to check those boxes. So I think the Lakers just the first two guys check too many of those boxes, and so it isn't spread out enough. Same thing with the Warriors. They don't check enough boxes. So that's a big thing. Dallas has the two guys. And then nobody. Phoenix. Even though the league has been trying so hard to save Phoenix, because I told you I was the rest of the league.
Just let him go.
Anytime they said let's make a trade, nope, because they had no none, and everyone just kept here take 7 guys for 2. Here takes 3 guys. What are you doing? Why are you giving them depth? You could have had them done.
No.
Yeah. They would have been. Just imagine, because of the injuries too that they've had, right? If they didn't have any depth like they should have been for the season, they would have been in 19th place out of 15.
Yeah.
15, they would have been in 19th place.
I don't know what they were thinking and why they thought Phoenix was going to be successful.
They built up. So that's where their issues are. I think Phoenix is the one that actually has probably the best opportunity if healthy. Because they've got 3 legit guys who can score 30 a night. 30 a night, 3 of them. If they're healthy, and the Grayson Allens of the world and those guys just do their what their roles are, like, you got 3 dudes, they could put up 90 points, just 3 of them.
The problem is that exactly what you just said, Tone. 1, if they're healthy. Number 2, when has Bradley Beal played at that level? When's the last time he played at that level?
Washington,
that was 2 years ago. That was 2 years ago. Devin Booker is the only dude left on that 2021 team that went to the NBA Finals. He's the only one left. And now, I mean, don't get me wrong. I feel like he's playing
the other teams.
It's funny you don't hear Devin's been injured this season, but you haven't heard anything about him. I never see him in the headlines.
I still hear that he's the best 2 guard in the game. I still hear that.
Well, you're on the panel, so you hear all kinds
of crazy stuff on there.
I still hear he's the best 2 guard. I don't think it's ridiculous to say that neither, to be honest with you. I don't think it's ridiculous to say that he's still the best 2 guard in the game. I don't think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, but that's because the position is so watered down, and you don't even know what a 2 guard is anymore.
Right.
I mean, if every
point guard in the NBA, with the exception of maybe Halliburton, is really a 2 guard. Let's be honest. In today's NBA, it's not. There's no more 1-2 guards. They're guards. And if you got to compare him against all the point guards and guards, is he top 10?
Yeah, of course.
Is he?
Yes,
I mean, if we're
are we talking about Devin Booker? We're talking about guards in the NBA, all guards. So Curry, Luka, Shea,
Brunson,
Murray,
Jaylen Brown. Even though Jaylen Brown, he's got him listed as a forward. I think
he's a forward. Don't they have Tatum as the shooting guard?
No, Jaylen Brown's a shooting guard.
He should be listed as a shooting guard. That's what he should be listed at.
Drew Holiday. Well, Drew's not top 10.
No, I'm not putting him. I'm not putting Dame ahead of Devin Booker neither. I'm not putting De'Aaron Fox ahead of Devin
Kyrie?
Booker. I'm not putting.
No,
I'm not putting Kyrie ahead of him. I'm not putting Kyrie ahead of him. I'm not putting Dame ahead of him. I'm not putting
SGA?
I'm not
Luka, SGA, Jalen Brunson.
I'm not putting Jalen Brunson ahead of Devin.
Am I underrating anyone, Tank? I said SGA.
What about Ant?
Ant?
I don't think Ant is there yet, but I think in the next year, 2 years tops, he goes ahead of him.
Dame. Okay, so he's not okay. So maybe he's top 10.
He's top 10.
Top 10.
Definitely.
Okay.
Devin is look.
Top 5 though, right?
I don't love Devin because he's
not
one of my favorite players. Donovan Mitchell.
Now that I look at it, he's maybe 7'8". 7'8".
In terms of guards, not two guards, just guards.
So is Donovan over Booker?
I think Donovan Mitchell. I think he's the best two guard in the game.
Yeah.
I feel like there's 3 positions in the NBA now. I feel like there's 3 because I feel like guards have molded into one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like certain bigger guards, small forwards / I don't want to call them power forwards, stretch forwards have kind of meshed into one. So you kind of have this guard forward, and then the center position is really like a center power forward of the classic, and those are the 3. Yeah. Anthony Davis, Bam's 4 playing 5. There's still some like even Jokic, who's a more traditional 5 in the sense that he posts up and rebounds.
Right.
He's like guard center,
but he's also top of the key, facilitating the offense. So I feel like the power forward center position has kind of has molded in. So you've got these 3 molded positions now. So that's why I think it's really hard when we say who's the best 2 guard. Who's listed as a 2 guard? There's so few that are listed as 2 guards nowadays. That's all I mean by that. And again, it's not a knock Book. It's just that, like, how different does Book play than a lot of the point guards of today?
I think Book plays like the consummate 2 guard, the guard that plays off the basketball, the guard that scores in the mid range, the guard that's really good in isolation. But that's the lead guard too, though. That's the difference. That's the lead guard too. So the lead guard has become more of a scoring guard. I think I told you this before, Tone, maybe a week ago, that Damo and I actually had a conversation where Damo said, chill. If I would have told you 20 years ago that the future of the lead guard is Gilbert Arenas and Allen Iverson, would you have bought that? I would have been like, hell no. That's not what the lead guard is going to look like. Only except that's exactly what it looks like today. That's what the lead guard is. It's Allen Iverson and it's Gilbert Arenas. Just a guy who can pass a little bit, but it's more of a bucket getter than anything.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Did you know Tatum? I was so wrong. Do you know that Tatum's listed as a power forward right now?
Yeah, and the problem is that Derek White starts. When the season started, I thought Derek White I always felt like Derek White is the consummate Manu Ginobili rotation guy. I always felt like that. And in the process of him being that means that him being a rotation guy, Drew plays at the 1. Jaylen Brown can move over to his natural 2 guard position.
2.
Jason Tatum can move over to his natural small forward position. Yep. Al Horford can play the 4, and KP plays the 5, and Derek White is the rotation guy. Yeah. And he's basically the utility guy. That's what I thought the Celtics were going to be this season.
FYI, guys. Sorry, I just looked it up just because I thought I was losing my mind. But you know what Devin Booker is listed as this year?
Small forward.
No, Devin Booker is listed as a point guard.
Yeah, he is their point guard.
As a lead guard, yeah. So because that was what they were going to do, is have him as the lead guard, Beal at the 2, right? Yeah, Durant at the 3. That was the plan. So really, if you look at the top 25 scorers in the NBA, the top 25, there's one player. I'm just talking about scorers right now. There's only one player who's listed as a shooting guard, and that's Ant in the top 25 points per game.
What is Donovan Mitchell listed at, Tone?
Donovan Mitchell.
My point guard / shooting guard, huh?
Do you know what's he averaging? Is he in the top 20 in scoring?
Yeah, Donovan Mitchell. I think he's 6th in the league before he got hurt. Well, he's not in it anymore because he missed a bunch of games.
Oh yeah.
There was a time when he was like 5th or 6th in the league.
Is he still out, Jay?
Yes, he is.
He done for the season?
No, he's not done for the season. But I think he'll be back within another week or so because the playoffs start in like 2 weeks, in like 3 weeks.
He's listed as a shooting guard. He would be in there because he's at 27.4 per game, but because he's only played 49 games, he's technically ineligible. So he doesn't show up in there. So yeah, he'd be at 27.4. Yeah, he'd be tied for fifth with Booker and Jalen Brunson.
Got James listed at the 4. How about that?
Yeah, that makes sense. That's how
technically
that is how they're playing, right? Because they're going with D'Lo, Reeves, Hachimura.
So is Hachimura the small forward?
Yes.
Interesting.
Which is also kind of weird because James is listed at the 4, but he plays the lead guard.
He plays that. Yes.
But that's what I'm saying. It doesn't. That's why I keep saying. That's why I keep saying it doesn't matter. I said that. Listen, this is my whole argument for Steph Curry. It doesn't matter what they list you as because they put you down as at the beginning of the season. Hey, you're a point guard. Hey, you're this. It doesn't mean that's where you play.
So what does this mean moving forward, though, Tone? The question that I have is, what does this mean moving forward? Because are we going to eliminate? Are we just going to now have guards, forwards, and a center, or are we just going to have players? That's what I was about to say. Because are we getting rid of the 5-man?
No,
I don't know. I don't know.
We're not going to because we're people of labels. We like to label and distinguish things. And so there will always be an argument. Well, we can't just erase all of history. And even if we try or the next generation tries, but my generation's going to argue, well, you didn't see, you didn't see these things kind of blend together. I just think like there's an argument. Maybe it should, but I don't think it will.
But the difference, H, is we've already moved in that direction. I mean, the all league team is positionless now. The all league team is positionless. So now we can have 5 big. We can have 5 centers. Right. We can have 5 bigs. Yeah. Or we can have 4 bigs. Tone, if today the season ended, first team all NBA. Joker, I dare you to keep Sabonis off the all NBA team. Embiid's not played enough. Embiid's not played enough.
So listen, they all 5 bigs.
They all played and they all healthy. Joker, Embiid, Anthony Davis.
Yeah, Giannis.
Well,
I dare you to keep the triple-double and double-double man off the All-NBA team. I dare you.
What? Wemby. Boom.
Sabonis. I dare you to keep him off the All-NBA team. The guy who leads the league in double-doubles and triple-doubles.
You know what they should.
He doesn't have to be first. But
you know why all this started? And what they should have done, it would have been easier, is just make the All-NBA team 6 players. 2 guards, 2 forwards, 2 centers. Because this all started with it's not fair. Centers only get 1. So if you're the second best center, you automatically go to second team. That means something about your legacy. Meanwhile, the second best guard gets first team. The second best forward gets on the first team. It's unfair, and we're in a world where we got to be fair, and everybody gets a ribbon, and we got to give hugs. So, actually, no, you're not allowed to. Now.
Okay, first of all, number one, and this has always bothered me too, Tone. There's only one 5-man. That's why at the 5 position.
Is there though? Is there?
Yes, it was only.
You can't play 2. You can't play 2. You can't play the Twin Towers. You can't play Ralph Sampson and Hakeem Olajuwon. You can't play Cat and Rudy Gobert.
Yep, but
you can.
Well, number one, Cat's not a 5-man. He's a 4. That's what he played in college, and he played that coming into the NBA. Giannis is not a 5-man. Giannis is a 4-man. No doubt about that. Olajuwon actually moved to the 4. Tim Duncan, the reason why he had such
a center.
Right. And Tim Duncan, the reason why Tim Duncan, when he moved back to the 5, it was such a silky segue because he played the 5 in college. That's who he actually is. He played the 4 because David Robinson was there. That's why he moved to the 4.
But he's still, just for the record, guys, even though they listed him as a 5, he still played the 4 because if you look at those championship teams, who was starting in 2007? He was starting at the 4. Fabrizio was starting at the center. Then he had Thiago Splitter starting at the center. Like he always had a 7-footer. Rašo Nesterović. He always had a 7-foot center next to him. So even though he was, what is that guy's name? Fabrizio Bedesio, whatever, whatever that Fabrizio guy is. Fabrizio B. So he had Fabrizio. He had, like I said, Rašo Nesterović. He had Thiago Splitter. He always had a 7-foot center next to him. and so even that's why I say when people say, oh, he was listed as center, so he was listed as center more than he was a power forward. He can't be the greatest power forward of all time. I'm like, dude, watch a game. He played the power forward position, period, end of discussion.
Right.
So
that's
Fabrizio, what's his name?
Alberto.
Fabrizio Alberto.
Italian?
I don't know. Yes. Tank. It is not positionless, though. It is not. You can't play basketball without a position.
Right. We can't just have guys on the floor. We can't
run around like chickens with your heads chopped off. Yeah. No.
He's from he's Argentinian, Tone.
Oh, okay. From Argentina. All right.
Yeah, he's Argentinian. That's where he was from.
We do not care.
Yeah, he only played 6 years in the league, but like you can't just. I always felt like that.
He only played 6 years in the league, and he swept LeBron James. Yes, sir.
He played 6 years in the league, and don't think for 1 second that he ain't telling people that too, because I know I would. I know that I would.
Hey,
100% I would.
I'll call him up. Hey, if people are saying Danny Ainge swept Jordan 2 years in a row, then I can say Fabrizio swept LeBron.
If I had that on my resume, I would definitely say that.
Absolutely.
100% I'd say that.
Be my bio. Okay, I want to move on to Adam Silver. A recent interview he had, I think it was with CNN, which was, I don't know what I didn't watch the whole thing, so I won't lie. But essentially, he came out. They were discussing the All-Star game. Some of the pros, they said, obviously, it was like Steph Curry and Sabrina, which was such a dope, that was awesome. Turnout. Everybody, probably the highlight of the All-Star weekend. But when he went on to discuss more of the All-Star, basically what he said is, it seems almost like guys, especially the younger guys, are taking the All-Star break literally as a break from the season, versus this event should be geared towards the fans. You should come and show your best, and the game should really feel like a basketball game, which even this season was absolutely the worst, probably one of the worst All-Star games we've ever seen, if not the worst. And so, yeah. Yeah, and we've talked about this before, but I mean, Fluent, what did you think of kind of this conversation that he had? Do you agree? And the lack of competition is it's ruining the weekend. Like, where do we go?
The All-Star break, they need to stop using that term, because when you call it,
has it always been called that?
No, well, it's called All-Star weekend.
No, I know, but when did it turn into that?
Well, the problem is the majority of players aren't there. So it's called an All-Star break because it is a break from your teams. And even the ones that are there take it as a break. There's the guys.
Your whole lives, they've called it All-Star break?
No, it should just be the All-Star game. No, All-Star game, then the All-Star game turned into the All-Star weekend. But now they call it the All-Star break because they give them a couple of days before and a couple of days after, a day, whatever. So now it is a break and people go away. They go to Turks and Caicos. They go to Grand Cayman. They go to wherever. Mm-hmm. And so that's one part of the problem. Two, the other part of the problem is Adam Silver, who if I was his boss, I would have fired him on the spot when he sat there on national television in 4K and said, I believe the days of a competitive All-Star game are behind us.
You can't tell people that.
That is the ultimate fan event, and that is the one quote that stuck with me because I slapped him through my TV. You cannot say the days of a competitive All-Star game are behind us. So
what are we coming for? Did he go on to say?
Did he go on to say we're?
I don't care. We're in a soundbite society. We're in a soundbite society. So you can't say that because people will clip out everything else you said and just use that like I'm doing right now. And here's the thing. I believe if you want to make it competitive, there's two things you have to do. One, instead of having the Emirates pay for your in-season tournament, get them to sponsor the All-Star game. And as much as I think everyone makes too much money anyways, pay them to be competitive. And if they're not, they don't get paid. Two, don't make it a break. Don't make it a break. Go back to the old days where they fly in on Saturday morning, do their stuff Saturday, Sunday, and fly out. So it's not a break.
Friday. That's when they show up. They show up Friday, and it's actually All-Star week.
And everybody has to be there. Everybody has to be there. Every single player is mandatory to be there to do press conferences, to do events with fans, to do signing sessions. Because if this is a weekend for the fans, if it's a weekend for the fans, then make it a weekend for the fans. Do a bunch of stuff that is for, because right now what it's become is not a weekend for the fans. It has become a weekend for the guys to hang out, to bring their side chicks, to wear their fur coats, to be seen, to hold their cameras, to ooh and ah some bad dunks, and to go to a party, and that's fine, and that's okay. No, but then just say that's what it's for. Then I'm okay. But if you're saying this is for the fans, then make it for the fans. Every single person has to come. And if you want to make it really competitive, for me, I eliminate the All-Star game. What I do is I have the events because the other events are good. And on that Sunday night, that's when you have the play-in tournament championship. Because that game is competitive. Because it's an exhibition anyways. It doesn't count towards the regular season. That's when I have, because the All-Star game, he might be right. The days of a competitive All-Star game might be behind us. They might be behind. No one cares.
Two things. Number one, it is a celebration of basketball, but the guys wore fur coats. They did all of that stuff 20, 30 years ago when the All-Star game was in Chicago, when the All-Star game was in Cleveland, when the All-Star game was in New York. They did all of that stuff, but it also was about the fans. And with it being about the fans, they involved the fans in it. I don't want to make this something that's now mandatory. Well, you have to come here and you have to do this. Well, wait a minute. Okay, I am making the All-Star game. I've been in the All-Star game. This is the 5th time that I've been here. All right. So I know exactly what this is. And the All-Star game, so we clear, Tone. I was at the All-Star game in Philadelphia in 2002. I never went back again. As many times as Shaq would ask me, yo, you come to the All-Star game in Atlanta. I never went back again. It's a zoo, H. It is a complete and utter zoo. They've got so many things planned for you during the weekend, in within them 3 days. From the day you get there on Thursday night, you got the press on Friday. Not only do you have the press, you got practice. In addition to practice, you got appearances. Then you got the press again. Then you got marketing, all of that sort of stuff.
You're talking like it's a job, Jay.
Absolutely, it is 100%. 100% it is, and it's supposed to be fun. No doubt about that. It's supposed to be fun.
It's supposed to be fun for the fans.
But it's supposed to be fun for me too, though, Tone. It's not something.
No,
hold on, Tone. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm not saying that it's not fun for me, because it should be. Because the reason why I'm here is because of the fans. If I'm a starter, one of the main reasons why I'm here is because they want to see me. So I'm gonna be here because they asked me to be here. Yo, Tony is the starter for the West Squad. Well, Tony's not coming to All-Star Weekend like. No, Tone, they asked for you specifically. So I'm going to be there like, yo, they want to see me. So I'm here. I'm going to do the press. But also, with that being said, I have to make sure that I have time for my family. Because remember, Tone, this is my 5th time playing in an All-Star game, but it's never been in Miami. So I ain't never really been to Miami like that. So I'd like to see Miami. I'd like to go hang out for a little bit. I ain't never been to San Antonio.
Right? You make millions of dollars, you could do it in the offseason.
When I get to All-Star weekend, because that's what it is. All-Star weekend, that's why they have the dunk contest. That's why they have the 3-point contest. That's why they have the celebrity game. That's why they have all of this stuff, because it's a weekend event for the fans. And I, being the starting 2 guard for the East, or being the starting small forward for the West, who was voted in, I am part of what the fans want to see. So I do have to make myself available. But in the process of me making myself available, I also have to make clear what my schedule is. I'm not at your disposal 24 hours a day, Tone. No, that's not what I'm here for.
I never suggested 24 hours a day. I never suggested that. What I said was for the other players, so that they don't consider it a break. This is a working weekend. And that's because we've made it a break. Even the ones that come up think it's a break. They're not competitive. They don't care about the game. Like, just think about it. Watch all of those guys in the summer when they play in like the Drew League, when they play in these summer events and these pickup games at UCLA. Those are significantly more competitive than the All-Star game. And guess what? You don't think
way more.
You don't think they can get hurt then?
Yeah,
they did. I don't want to go hard in the All-Star game because I'm scared I could get hurt. Well, you could get hurt playing in this pickup game, but you play hard there.
Yeah.
In terms of going and seeing a city, with all due respect, ask Shaq. when it was 2, 3, whatever, 5 years ago, whenever the All-Star game was here in Toronto, it was minus 75 degrees. Nobody was going out to going to the clubs, but they're here every August for Caravana. Go ask him. He loves coming here in August, right? So trust me, if they want to see a city, they can go see a damn city. I feel like if we don't force it, it's going to go down the path where we go. And if you admit to the fact that we're not going to see another competitive All-Star game, then you're right. We're going to speak it into existence. It won't. We won't.
Now, don't get me wrong, Tone. I am an advocate of, and I stand on this logic that I'm an advocate of the idea of change. And don't tell me what's wrong with. Don't tell me the problem if you're not going to give me any solutions. I'm not trying to hear that from you at all. Don't just tell me, well, this is wrong. This is wrong. Okay, I understand what's wrong. What are we going to do to fix it? So the idea that we have,
I'm giving suggestions. I'm trying.
Absolutely, sure, absolutely. So we had this. So Adam Silver came up with this idea of the world versus the NBA in the All-Star game. So now what we're going to do is we're going to have 12 international players. So we're basically going to scrap the All-Star game, and we're going to have 12 international players.
We tried this before.
Did we?
Yeah, they've tried this. This isn't the first time they've done World versus the USA, and it's stupid because guess what? Of your top 20 players, I know more of them are international now, but even though there's more.
Yeah, good point.
Let's say, isn't there still 12, 13 that are American? So now basically you're going to take an American all-star slot away from him because you need to put in more non-Americans, and you're going to have guys who aren't deserving. They're not in the top whatever.
Yeah, you water it down. Yes, you do.
You water it down, and so it's a failed attempt. You don't remember? I want to say it was in maybe early 2000s. I'll look it up, but for sure it wasn't. It was World versus USA because the All-Star game.
I think they did that. I think the World versus. I think that was around like 20 in the middle of the 2010s. I do remember that, Tone, and it was the Rooks. That it wasn't the All-Star game. It was the Rooks.
Oh, the rookies. Okay.
Yeah. It was the rookies versus the international, the second year international players. Those guys. I do remember that. That did happen. But with that being said, if you're gonna have something like this, right? If you're gonna have something like this, I think that it would be good for the fans if you sprinkled in some international players, and in it. You can't get rid of the All-Star game. That can't happen. No, we cannot get rid of the All-Star game, because the All-Star game, what it does is it legitimizes me. A lot of people don't take being an All-Star. I take being an All-Star I think that's a pretty big deal. I do. And I don't take it being a big deal when you only played 18 games. No, I don't do that. I don't take it being a big deal when you get voted on when you haven't played, the whole season. No, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that if I'm a 6-7-time All-Star and I've consistently been playing like Anthony Edwards has been playing, and I've made the All-Star team these many years, I take that seriously. So I don't want to take that away from Anthony Edwards, who's been a consistent elite player, so I can now water down an international team of All-Stars so I can get more eyes on the game. No, I don't want to do that, because now what I'm doing is I'm delegitimizing how good these guys actually are. I don't want to do that.
Basically, what you're saying is a guy like who was a fringe All-Star this year who made it?
A fringe All-Star.
Who made it?
Let's see. Who was a fringe All-Star? When I think,
to be honest with you, okay, how about this? Okay, Steph Curry. Let's use Steph Curry. So Steph Curry now is going to lose his spot. Steph Curry's going to lose his spot, and it's going to be Jamal Murray that goes in, because Jamal Murray's international. Steph Curry was the last guard of the American team. Did that make the game better? Did that just make that game better?
It did not. No, it did not.
It didn't. So I get it. It's a ploy. But and there are better international players, right? Like if you think about it, we've got 3 or 4 in the top 10 now, right? With Luka, Jokic, Giannis, SGA. But after that top 10, I think it gets back to really US heavy again, like super US heavy after that top 10. And then to find in the top 50, if you just think about, well, who are the top if I asked you who are the top 15 international players playing in the NBA right now, how far down the list? Okay.
Giannis, Joker, Shea,
Luka.
Sabonis.
Just international players.
International, anywhere but U.S.
Embiid.
I keep hearing Embiid is American, but
no, he's not.
He's like for citizenship.
Right.
He's not.
He grew up in Cameroon. So Embiid.
Porzingis.
See, now it's getting. See now.
Wait,
now,
is
now
Porzingis American?
No, I don't know what Porzingis
Gobert.
is.
He's from Latvia.
Rudy Gobert.
Rudy Gobert.
Wemby.
That's 7.
Wemby
8.
Siakam. Siakam.
See, now it's getting tricky.
I know. I feel like I'm missing other Canadians. Who am I missing?
Now it's getting. We forgot Jamal Murray also.
But again, you're at 10. You need 12 or 15.
I'm at 9.
Yeah.
So Jamal Murray. See, now it's getting tricky, right? Then you said
so now
you want to add Porzingis. That's 10, right? You want to add Porzingis. That's 10.
Yeah, Franz Bohan.
Yeah,
Dylan is not top 10. Maybe.
Dylan Dynasty.
But point proven, yeah.
Right. So if you got to put in, if you got to reach to put those guys in,
Bam is not international. Bam is not an international player. Laurie Markkinen, right? Guys like that. I think Laurie Markkinen. I think it gets tricky after like 7 or 8.
Are those you're going to have guys who are all-stars now who put that on their resume who are like, wow, Brad Miller was an all-star,
right?
It gets you into one of those situations that, again, I've already said the all-star in any kind of debate about who's better, I don't use it anyways because it's one. It used to be fan voted completely. Even now, it's just so. It's not a good.
I want to go back to that, Tone. You and I, we're definitely at odds about that. I want to go back to that. And the reason why I want to go back to that is because exactly what you just spent 15 minutes talking to me about. All-Star Weekend is about the fans. It's what the fans want. That's what All-Star Weekend is about.
I want the fans. Here's the problem, though. Here's the problem. But here's what I want, if we could find a way to do it legit. I want the fans to vote in the All-Star team, who's going to compete in the dunk contest, who's going to compete in the three-point contest. Who do you want to see? That's what the problem is there was that one year where they voted in Jaja Pachulia or who I don't know if it was him. Was it Jaja? Was it Jaja? Right? They were like, they did this viral thing and it messed it up for everybody.
Because remember, Tone, you just brought
12, 14 even beat you. They'll only beat.
You just brought up a really interesting point. You did. You brought up a really interesting point because I'm 100% confident. I heard Zion Williamson say, if I make the All-Star team, I'm getting in the dunk contest.
In the dunk contest,
What's the incentive? The incentive is you got to put me on the All-Star team. That's the only way I'm getting in the dunk contest.
He's brilliant. You want to see me dunk? The All-Star team. I'm voting for him.
Right, exactly. He's going to be a starter on the All-Star team.
You know what they should do? Now that I think about it, they need to make like Luka and Devin Booker captains, like two players that don't like each other, and let them pick their squads and say the winning team gets this.
I just think that they already get bonuses based off like all-star appearances and like they're.
Yeah, so I'm out on that, Tone. I'm out. I'm not paying you anymore, Tone. I'm not paying you anymore.
If you start paying them more,
I'm not paying you anymore.
Because they'll just demand more and more.
I figured it out. Give it to the coach. The winning coach gets the winning coach gets home court advantage in the playoffs throughout.
No, it's not going to happen.
$1 million and $1 million.
You can't change the course of a season because of the All-Star game.
They do it in baseball,
and it's wrong in baseball, Tone.
Yeah,
it's absolutely wrong in baseball. You're the one who said to me that I'll bust my ass to get a number 7 seed. I wasn't even in the playoffs last year, but I'm the 7 seed. In the process of me being a 7 seed, Atlanta, who is not a playoff team, now I got to battle them for a playoff spot?
No. Because who is the all-star coach? It's the coach who has the best record. So he's probably going to be the 1 or 2 seed. So to say they get home court advantage. Yes, it is true.
Oh,
yes, it is true. Every year, yes. Now you're more fluent.
Yeah, because Joe Mazzulla you can't coach. You can't coach the All-Star team 2 years.
Joe
in a row.
Mazzulla wasn't. Yeah.
So
there's no way that's true every year.
It is true every year, with the exception of if you've done it, I believe, 2 years in a row.
You can't coach 2 years in a row.
They'll then go to the second best team because they don't want the same coach every year.
Which is why Doc Rivers was the head coach of the All-Star.
Doc Rivers was the head coach because the Bucks had the best record in the East. And he was the coach of the Bucks at the time because they had fired Adrian Griffin.
The Bucks did.
They should have liked Griffin. They should have.
Celtics had the best. Yeah.
Yes,
but Joe Mazzulla was the All-Star coach last year. Yeah. Right. But now Joe Mazzulla can do it again next year. But they would eliminate that rule. You could be the All-Star coach every single year if your team is in first place. I'm trying to come up with new ideas because
I know.
Even if they go against what I believe, I want to do something.
Right.
I just think it's a cultural shift that there's no coming back from, honestly. I think that's what it is. So
I don't believe so. I think get LeBron James out of there. And because for all of his wonderful things he does when he's playing regular season and playoff games, he doesn't take the All-Star game seriously. And it's like a classroom. If the leader of the classroom,
come on, man, I've been here for 20 years. Man, I've been doing this for like 2. I've been doing this for 20 years.
You get a little leeway at that point, man. That's crazy.
There's a reason I get the good parking space, right? You know, I get to leave work early. There's a reason why I do that, because I've been around for as long as I've been around, Tom.
He can coach. Let the guys in who want to play. I'm sorry. And again, I'm not disagreeing. He's earned it, but take him out. And that's why I said, for example, have the Luka and Booker, like two guys that don't like each other, being the captains of the team. Yeah. Because again, whether he's earned it or not, Duke, if you allow people who don't take the game seriously, who are the leaders of the league, the face of the league, the best players in the league, and they don't take it seriously, then what do you think the next guy's going to do? Right? Like, why do you think the skills competition was so crap last year? Because you had Jordan Clarkson in it who couldn't care less. He couldn't care less that he was in it. So you know what? Don't let him be in it. I'm sorry.
Maybe they could let players vote on events they'd like to participate in.
Well, I don't know about voting, Tom. I don't know about voting, H, more than you should be. I will agree with Tom in the aspect that, I mean, this is for the fans. So there are things that you have to participate in.
Yeah.
You were voted in as an all-star. So, you should be in the dunk contest, or you should be in the skills competition. And you shouldn't just show up just off the strength that, the fans voted for me, so fine. No. You should actually be involved in the skills competition. You should be in the three-point competition. You should be in the dunk contest, right? You should be in this stuff off the strength that this is what the people want to see. They asked you to be here. They want to see you. So I do think that I think that the NBA, Tone, again, I don't want to misconstrue that you should be mandated to do this, and it. But I do think that there should be a middle ground where, we need you to do this here.
Asking nicely isn't going to get it done, though, right?
Asking nicely is not going to get it done. Absolutely. And this is what's sad.
Not asking nicely, Tone, more than, okay, I'm going to work with you. You don't have to do this. I need you to do this. You don't have to worry about doing this, but I do need you to do this.
The fact that, let's, I don't want to get on my soapbox here, but the fact that this is a fan weekend, it's done for the fans. The fans who, let's be honest, the majority of them can't afford to take their family of 4 to a game because the tickets are so damn expensive. So they watch it on TV. So these TV guys get a bunch of TV revenue, which, guess what, pays everyone's salary. The reason you're making $30 million a year, the reason Jaylen Brown got a $300 million contract is because the NBA signed a $600 billion TV deal, because of the fans that watch. So I'm asking you for 3 days to come in like a job, right? And put on a good show so that on Monday morning, we aren't sitting here saying, that was a shitty All-Star weekend. That was the worst game ever. I can't believe we watched that. This was a layup line. Disgusting. We should not be having that conversation if you have even 1% respect for the people who are paying their hard-earned money to watch you guys play.
And
like,
I'm not asking you to. And I'm not asking you, Tone.
A little bit of appreciation. I'm not asking you to stop and sign everyone's freaking autograph. All I'm saying is they're asking you to compete in one game. They're asking you to shoot threes for 30 minutes. They're asking you to show us your dunking ability, which is ridiculously like God that rained down from the heavens and said, I'm putting springs in your feet. So show that off for half an hour over a weekend, because yes, you get paid very handsomely throughout the regular season and playoffs to do all those other games. I'm asking you for a weekend for us, the fan. And if you can't play hard for one game, but you'll go hard and play at LA Fitness in the summer to show up one of your boys, like, I'm sorry. Like, because guess what's going to happen eventually? They stop watching, and when they stop watching, the revenue goes down, and when the revenue goes down, you get less money, and when you get less money, you start looking for something else to do, and then the league folds. Now, I'm not saying the NBA is going to fold; it's not, but you think salaries that go up every year, you think this is going to become a league where you get paid $1 billion a year? No, there's going to come a point. It's like the housing market; it's going to go here, and then right that's going to come. Don't make it come faster than it should, right? I'm not asking for a month. I'm not asking for a week. Asking for 1 month.
And on top of that, Tone, it's not like I'm asking you to come in on your day off.
No, I'm paying you to come.
Right.
I'm paying you.
Right. And it's not because I can still have the day off and you can still pay me to come. Again, I was voted in by the fans. This is what this is about.
I want to see you.
Fans, yeah, they want to see me. The fans. I don't know. I'm third in the league in 3-point attempts, and I'm fourth in the league in makes. The fans want to see me in the 3-point contest.
Yes.
I don't have the weekend off. I'm going to work. They want to see me in the 3-point contest, right? I'm one of the better assist guys. I'm third in the league in assists, right? I got a 4-to-1 assist turnover ratio.
Yeah.
The fans want to see me in the skills challenge. They want to see me in this. So why is this? This isn't something that I feel like we're asking them to do that's out of their realm. I'm not asking you to just show up and do everything. No. You're gonna have some time to yourself. You're gonna have some time to hang out. You're gonna have some. You don't have to do every presser, right? You don't have to show up to every practice. You don't have to do every event. No. Not only that, we've already got that mandated where there are things that you won't have to do. So from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock, you got nothing going on. Or on Saturday from 12 o'clock to 5 o'clock, you got pressers and not only pressers, but we got practice. But then from 6 o'clock on, you don't have anything else going on except for the 3-point contest. You don't have to do anything else. There's nothing else that you have to do. So I think that I feel like with the All-Star weekend, one, you don't have the weekend off. Two, I don't feel like you have to mandate these guys, whereas it could just be something where it's in between. I need you to you're gonna have some pressers that you have to do. Maybe show up to this event and do the 3-point contest, but then that's it. You don't have to do anything else for the rest of the weekend. That's it.
I mean, I want to believe that, we're at a time where you can ask people and there's like, I don't know. I don't know. I like the idea, but we'll have to see. I don't know what Adam Silver meant by that, but hopefully they can come up with some sort of system where it's like, I got you if you got me, whatever that looks like.
Right.
I just don't have a lot of hope as of right now. But I will say a lot of people want to see that Caitlyn Dame and Sabrina Steph matchup, so I will watch if that's something that occurs. So okay, chat, if you guys have any super chats to get in, make sure to get those in. We have about 15 more minutes. But our final topic, unless either of you have anything.
The Lakers were down by 20 to Milwaukee in the dogfight. 44 seconds left in some
down by 2, 43.9 seconds left. They're on break.
All right, keep us updated on
that. Shout out to AD.
Yeah, he's carrying.
No, he's not. D'Lo and D'Lo's having a good game too.
Mm-hmm.
I think D'Lo's got 25 or something. D'Lo's. What is the last topic?
The last topic was well, it was the free throw disparity.
Because can I because there's two major sports topics that we need to talk about.
Such as
Shohei Ohtani trying to blame his translator for betting.
Yep.
I believe that he's going to get caught, and I believe
you think he has something to do with this, Tone?
No, for a fact he had something to do with it.
There's more to the story. Do you want to get into it?
Why not?
Yes.
Yeah, let's do it. Give your take. Fluent.
There's no way that I believe that a guy who came across to me as super smart with his money to the point where he took a $600 million deal and said, let's backload it.
Back in, right.
When I finish my 10-year career, I'm going to have generational wealth to deal with because I can borrow against it if I need anything. Just pay me $1 million, $2 million, whatever it was a year. There's no way I believe a guy that has that much financial responsibility, advice, whatever, is allowing his translator to embezzle money that he's betting on baseball. I don't buy that for.
He doesn't know anything, and he doesn't know anything about it.
Nothing. And here's another fact. Here's another development that really kind of changed my mind, because initially I was like, okay, Shohei, like maybe it's possible, but there wasn't just one transaction. There were multiple transactions over multiple weeks. So this isn't just like, oh, when you get a little, you don't think his bank flagged him saying, oh, here's a transaction maybe you aren't aware of. Like, no, this is like multiple transactions to a huge sum of money to this guy that supposedly had somehow got access to his accounts.
How does the translator? So the translator gets access, makes multiple transactions, and you're smart with your money and you don't notice?
Yeah,
I noticed everything.
Which I was about to say that, Tone. Which, by the way, I mean, Shohei. On the one hand, you could say, yo, this guy's making a whole lot of money, so he would miss this. $4.5 million, I will definitely miss $4.5 million. 100% I would. 100% I would. And I don't think it all got taken out at once. I don't think it all think it all got taken out at once, but you don't take out little at a time, $4.5 million over a couple of weeks. There has to be $100,000 here, $250,000 here.
Yeah.
$250,000
Those
here.
are still massive transactions.
$500,000,
no matter how rich you are.
That's not a little bit of money.
Are you just buying like Gucci and bands like what are you?
Right.
I'm not buying it. And the only thing that is going to save him right now is he's the biggest name in baseball, and the MLB is going to save him. And honestly, I think it's sad. I think if he had something to do with this, he needs to get the exact same treatment that Pete Rose got. That's their precedent. Their precedent is you're out forever. And that, I'm sorry. Otherwise, because they've already set a bad precedent, you're allowed to cheat and win a World Series and we won't do nothing about it. And the precedent that they sent for baseball is if you bet on baseball, you're out forever. Or if you gamble, because Pete Rose I don't think he actually got caught betting on baseball.
Never bet on baseball while he was a player.
Well, they said he did as a coach, blah blah. But either way, either way, he's gone for life. I'm sorry. That's it.
But
so that's the precedent.
This is going to come down to financial incentive for the league, right? Like MLB is going to save it.
Why they're gonna pin it on the translator, right? And I think it's a travesty that this not the travesty in the sense that I'm sure he had something to do with it and he made a bunch of money too. But
wild as hell right now, H. And the reason why it sounds wild,
got so much money and it's not enough. Like
the reason why I'm thinking how wild this is, Tone, is because Tone and I butt heads a lot about a certain number 23 who the league told him, or who told the league that, yo, I'm retiring and I'm out.
Yeah.
And they pinned it on something else. Like, wait a minute, I don't think these two things correlate, but hang on. Do they? Do they not?
Listen,
can you pin it on somebody else?
I don't know.
There's no way that Major League Baseball, Tony, there's no way that Major League Baseball knows that this guy is on the Tony. You know how being on the hook for $4.5 million, how big a deal that is, and to cover that up and to keep this guy in the league, you ruin the integrity of the game. You wreck it.
They're going to do. You know what they're going to do? They're going to do the same thing they did with Jordan. They're going to, and there's a guy on record. I forget his name. There's a tape. You can go watch it. He said an interview. Hey, they're going to ask him to quietly go away for a little bit while things kind of blow over, and then he can come back. because that's what happened. Jordan had his issues with gambling. We're taking a look into it. He was openly about, yeah, I like to gamble, but he's like, if I was gambling, I would have sold my house. I would have not have any money. No, just because you're a good gambler doesn't mean you're not gambling. Like, there's those two things don't go together. Just because I'm winning doesn't mean I'm not doing it. So that was a terrible excuse. And the guy's on record saying they asked him to go away and then come back, and it all smoothed over. I believe that 100%.
But this is a different age, though, Fluent. Like,
hold on.
There's like journalists on. Everybody's a journalist. Look how many
people we just saw. Calvin Ridley betting and be suspended for a year.
Raptors guy too, right?
I was going to bring him up. Michael Porter Jr.'s brother, Jonte Porter, but he worse than Ohtani. Because he colluded with the idiot gamblers. Do you know that there was a prop bet on March the 12th where he was supposed to? It was 5.5 points. 6.5 rebounds, 0.5 3-pointers.
He missed the 0.5 3-pointers, didn't he?
He didn't take a shot after 3 or 4 minutes of the game. He said, "Oh, I'm feeling sick," and he went to left the game. And the Raptors said, "Oh, he had an unknown illness," and he left the game. And just so you know, his unders on the 3-pointer was the number one winning bet moneymaker that night in prop betting. With all due respect, no one is betting on Jonte Porter. Okay, no one is betting on Jonte Porter in a prop bet situation. 101 with 2.6 seconds left. Timeout. For Porter, no one's picking him. And here's the other part that's fishy, because it happened twice where he was the number one moneymaker according to Sportsbook. Right? There were guys calling in trying to make $20,000 bets, which tells me you've never bet before, because you know what the max is for a prop bet.
$10?
$2,000. $2,000 is the max, and they're trying to bet 20. Anyone who's a bettor knows.
So 10 times that. No.
Everybody who's a bettor knows that the max is $2,000, right? So you know that it was someone who set it up. So, I want to put 20. Can I put 20?
Yeah.
Well, who's putting $20,000 on a Jonte Porter prop bet?
Somebody that's in on it. That's who's
somebody that's in on it.
Somebody who's in on it, 100%. It ain't just
like
somebody
you couldn't even be slick about it.
Right. Somebody that's in on it, 100%.
My point with how it relates to Ohtani is, it's not about the money sometimes for these guys. It's about the thrill. It's about the bet. It's about in Porter's case, maybe he owes the wrong person some money because he's not a top tier guy getting paid.
Yeah.
You know, you get in with
and
the
you
wrong.
Can get in the hole. You can get in the hole. Yes.
Oh,
100%. You can get in the hole.
Not even
Jordan
that.
proved that. Jordan proved that. Yeah, Jordan proved that, and ended up having to write a check for $56,000. That's the money. That's the paper trail right there. But with that also being said, when you are that big of a figure, this is a nightmare for Major League Baseball. This is a nightmare for Major League Baseball, because if they find out that he's involved in this, because I don't know if you know this, H, but I can't place. Not only can I not bet in Major League Baseball, I can't give you dough to bet on baseball for me.
Yeah,
I can't do that.
Or anybody you know.
Anybody. Even if I don't, right? Even if I don't do it, I can very well be suspended, and that could also be expulsion for me. So if they find out that this guy is involved in this in any way, where it means that he was betting on games, in the process of him betting on games, he's got a bookie, he could be gone. This is a nightmare for Major League Baseball. This could be a nightmare.
And it's just like this guy. Shohei's just. Tell me.
Score? Giannis missed an inbound alley-oop.
It was wide open too, by the way.
That's game?
No, Anthony. No, 25 seconds left. He wasn't wide open. Anthony Davis yanked on his jersey.
So who's up right now? Milwaukee?
They're reviewing the play right now. They're putting 0.8 seconds on the board.
It's clearly a foul. That's clearly a foul. 100%. That's clearly a foul.
We the Lakers.
He blew the foul. He blew it. Okay. Giannis smoked the layup. 100%. Giannis
still smoked the layup though. Yeah.
Giannis.
What was the other story, but really quick, because we have about.
No, that was the two. It was Porter and Ohtani.
Yeah.
They're both betting stuff that's going to shake. Because here's the thing. If you think Ohtani is the only baseball player doing this, you're crazy. If you think Jonte Porter is so brilliant that he's the only one who thought, no, he's the dumb one who got caught. Yeah. I guarantee you there's a ton of two-way contract guys, 12th, 10th guys on the bench doing this. This is going to open up because I guarantee you, I believe this in my heart, that Porter knows other players, and he is going to turn snitch that fast. And
is he going to turn into Nino Brown, Tom? If I'm going down, I'm taking a lot of people with me. Is that
or bribe them to say I won't say anything if you give me half or 20% or something.
That can't go. That can't go over H because that's going to blow up in his face.
He is
never going to stop.
Because he's being like, well, now everybody's on his ass.
That's called extortion. Like if you don't pay me, then I'm going to tell everybody.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're already betting against your career, wouldn't you extort?
One
too?
illegal.
Because I don't want to go to prison. Hell no.
Extortion is prison versus I'm going to cut a deal. Versus I'm going to cut a deal. Just imagine if he says, I'll cut a deal, and instead of give me immunity and I'll give you 10 other guys. So, that almost went in. All the time. OT.
You're a snitch. See, you guys are ahead of me. I haven't seen anything.
Yeah. We'll close it out here so we can go finish this.
Am I ahead of you?
Yeah, you're ahead of me. So
it's going to OT. And we started a minute late, and if we don't go a minute later, FIFA's going to yell at us.
FIFA.
Right, because you know how FIFA is.
FIFA's in charge of our show. I don't know.
FIFA's not.
Look at that. Oscar's had a good look. You missed it.
Oh, my Dubs won tonight too. So Rockets are still a game behind us.
I'm just thinking about what you said to me, Tony. If Ohtani is involved in this, right? If Ohtani is involved in this, oh my goodness, Mike, you wouldn't embarrass me. You wouldn't embarrass me in anything. You're 12 years old. I tell you, I'm telling you right now. I'm gonna get you.
That black profile picture.
I'm gonna get your mother. I'm gonna get your mother on the phone if you don't act like you got some sense, Mike.
Did you see my done with the 90s?
That TikTok? Was great. That was great. Oh yes, that was fantastic. I love that. Yeah.
There's this dude. He's walking down the street, and this kid bumps into him, and he's like, "We done." Now I edited it. It was a different video, and he's like, "We done with the 90s." And the guy goes, "Okay, cool." And then he walks away, and he's walking down the hallway, and he's like, "Yeah, I told that old man." Blah blah blah. He walks into his apartment. The old man's sitting, laying there with his mom on the couch. And he sends him to his room.
Better watch out.
Let him know.
Oh man. Yeah, it's funny.
Oh man. All right, you guys. Well, appreciate all of you in the chat. It was a good stream. Obviously we'll keep you guys updated with what happens with Shohei. And then of course playoffs are coming up here pretty soon. It's gonna be a fun one. So we will catch you guys next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time?
8 p.m. Eastern.
All right, I always have to do the math.
Just say 5 p.m. Pacific.
5 p.m. Pacific. Yeah. All right, you guys. Any last words from you two for the day?
I'm just gonna go over to the CTH network and watch Hoopstorians, and then come back to Players Choice. I'd like to flip-flop between those two channels. They're fantastic. I have one other thing to say. Give me some damn merch.
Hey, hook tone up so we can be official. Drink water. Put on a suit. Don't drink and drive. Hey man, call your mother. When last time you talked to your mother? Call your mother. Until then,
Mike, you talked to yours yesterday.
Take it light. Take it. Absolutely. Be easy.
Bye, guys.